So I think, there's a little bit of a spirit about this area that I really like a lot. And so kind of moving in, it was interesting. And then there was a whole bunch of people called the Greasy Truckers, who were all living in and around here. And what they decided to do was put on concerts wherever. And they put some under the Westway. Before all these buildings, like the Portobello Green Arcade was built, it was just completely empty. And it was just like arches all the way down to Ladbroke Grove Tube Station. Totally empty. And some people put a little stage together, and they used to concerts on a Saturday afternoon. So people like Hawkwind, Uncle Dog, Clancy, Cochise, all sorts of bands that were kind of in and around the area, Sunderland Brothers and Quiver, people like that, in and around the area would like do gigs under there, you know, for free. And it wasn't quite the kind of whole, quite the hippie thing that was happening in the other part of Kensington and Chelsea. It was a bit more rough, a bit more anarchistic. But there was always somebody trying to do something, and there still is. I mean, we got like a situation like the Inn on the Green, where there's people trying to do music. The very pub we're sitting in here, the Portobello Gold, there's music in here on a Sunday night that is really good, and there's like different people coming from different places to do stuff in here. So I still think that still got a bit of a touch to it, you know. One kind of thing led to another, and you end up working with various people. So I ended up like, you know, with Ian Dury, Elvis Costello, Robert Palmer, John Lee Hooker. I did a lot of gigs with John Lee Hooker, which was brilliant, man. That was something else. Then I met Alex Harvey, and that was a big turning point in my life, meeting Alex, because Alex made me realise that if you had a passion and had a feel about wanting to do something, then go for it. I've also worked with Ian Dury, and I was speaking to Alex one time, and he asked me what I was doing. And I said, I'm working with this guy called Ian Dury. He goes, oh, well, tell me about him. I said, well, I'll tell you what, you'd really like him, I think. He says, okay, well, bring him up. So we went up to Alex's place, and the two of them just sat there for about 4 hours. So you know, but it was, so they became like pretty close to each other. But I thought absolutely, because see, Alex had worked with all the people that Ian was a big fan of, people like Gene Vincent. The Lightning Raiders, in retrospect, are one of the unsung bands of this area. Now, the bass player Sandy used to be in the Pink Fairies. We did, well, 1.5 albums worth of material, and none of it got released. One single that came out called Criminal World, which I think is probably pretty out. I played with a rockabilly band called Whirlwind, and we did a whole tour around Europe with the Clash, and at one of the gigs, Topper didn't turn up. He got stuck at the border, gig in Italy. So I'm sitting in the dressing room, and Joel come up to me and says, Topper's got stuck at the border. We don't know where he is. Can you come up and play drums with us? I thought, well, I couldn't say no. There were like 45,000 people in this square, 40,000 people, something like that. It was the biggest square in Europe, jammed. And when we got there before, somebody said they thought it might be a bomb somewhere. And, oh, great, that's just... All these people walking around, they're like the dogs with armor on and stuff. They're thinking, oh my God, they're serious. I ended up doing about 10 numbers with the Clash, and then he did turn up. We did a swap while we were still playing, which I thought was completely bonkers. And I think it was my idea, I don't know why. But I took that stick, then that stick, and then that foot, and I walked off, and he just sat in. I went, wow, that's mad. The guy who used to be the chef in here, Boss Goodman, he's a star, absolute star, and a big pivotal force in this area. And he used to be the chef in here. Yeah. In this pub.
The Portobello Gold?
Good cook, boss. Absolutely brilliant cook. Yeah. But he also knew how to run rock and roll gigs. So he did the a thing called the Fun City. I used to live in a flat above the Shaftesbury Theatre with Boss and Mickey Farron and Sandy, known as LSD mansions. Everything you touched, like you spread some butter on a piece of toast or something, and you'd be stoned for 5 days. Think, well, how did that happen? Then I lost touch with it a bit, and it was only through this place, the Gold, that I kind of re-met Boss and various other people. And Mickey was around at the time. He was still living in London, and he wanted to do some stuff. So one thing led to another. There was bits and pieces of that flying around. But then the Wayne Kramer thing again came from Boss, who, when Wayne Kramer got out of jail, he decided to have a party. Wayne Kramer came over to do a gig at Dingwalls, back to Dingwalls again. And everybody with a leather jacket who lived in Ladbroke Grove was trying to get. So if you had like a dark hair, tight black trousers and a leather jacket, then you were definitely going to this gig. So I was down on the guest list, and about 2 days before the gig, literally, Boss called me up, and he says, "Hi George, how you doing?" He says, "We got a bit of a problem." I says, "Oh, the guest list is getting shorter and shorter and shorter, so I'm obviously right at the bottom. I'm going to get snipped off." He says, "No. He says, we've got a problem with the drummer. Can you come along and have a blow with Wayne and see what happens?" I'm thinking, oh my God. Now, I'd never really heard too much of the MC5 stuff. Bits and pieces, but not enough to feel confident that I could actually just go up there and do it. So I thought, okay, well, let's see what happens. Give it a shot. And I went down to a little rehearsal place in Shepherd's Bush. And it felt like I'd been playing with the guy all my life. Everything just clicked so beautifully. I thought, right, no problem here. This is great. So that was the Deviants connection. But having said that, when I was up in Scotland, when I was a kid, I bought a magazine called Beat Instrumental. And there was a whole article about this bunch of people called the Deviants. Of course, I didn't know who they were. I was 500 miles away, And I'm looking at all these like grizzled-looking, horrible photographs, all these black men. I'm thinking, oh my God, well, I kind of like them. And unbeknown to me, like years later, they'd all become like real good friends. I mean, Russell lives right next door to me. Came to the John Sinclair connection with the Dirty Strangers, it kind of came around through that, because it was Boss's birthday, and Boss is having a party up at the Inn in the Green, and he's got a guy playing slide, and this other guy, whom I didn't know who he was, just there, and it turned out this was John Sinclair. Now I don't know what he was doing there, because I didn't know he knew Boss that well, etc., etc. He must obviously just been in the country at the time. So he went up and did a few numbers, and the guy playing bottleneck guitar saw me and said, "Come on up, just bang on the drums a little bit." So I did that, just a couple of little bits, and met John Sinclair, whom I did. Like I say, the only image I had of John Sinclair was looking like John Lennon. Like loads of hair and like round glasses and he's an older man by now with a grey beard and all that. So it just led to a connection with him doing some stuff with us in the Dirty Strangers, which is great. I mean, because it's knocked the band slightly one way that they wouldn't. I didn't think they were ever going to go into. I mean, we're pretty much a straightforward, grizzly rock and roll band, and then you just get this, suddenly it's just kind of gone slightly one way. I'm sure it'll balance itself out again, but it's interesting doing this stuff with John, because you just don't know where he's coming from.